What's up, YouTube? It's Carolina Calvin coming back to you with another video, and we get the chance to talk about the Spider-Man Homecoming spoilers. I got my boy MG Mitch. Said I was gonna bring him in. We're gonna talk about the spoilers, put Easter eggs, everything that we saw from the movie. We're gonna get these guys what they think about the movie, ratings, what they did like, what they didn't like. So, all right, I guess we could talk about the things you guys did like, because it's always a good way to get that out. Good to get that out the way first. If you've seen my review and you kind of know what I think, I actually watched the movie a second time. So there's some things I'm gonna say that I didn't say in my original video. So check for that. Now, okay, what do you guys think of the movie?
Well, I thought it was pretty good. Do you want me to say my likes and dislikes right now, or do you want me to just
Go ahead.
go overview? All right, so overview of it. I thought it was a pretty good movie. I liked the main characters. Let's start with that. So Tom Holland as Spider-Man, I thought he was pretty good. Peter Parker, I thought they nailed most of what Peter Parker is about, kind of that kid in high school. Doesn't really fit in very well. They did give him a best friend in this movie, which is a little bit different. So that was interesting. We'll get to that probably at some point. Also, the villain, Vulture, Michael Keaton, a.k.a. Batman, very good. I actually thought Michael Keaton was the best part of this movie. I know MG's probably going to disagree with me at some point on that, but I liked the Vulture. I thought he was one of the best Marvel villains that they've ever had. I thought he kind of grounded the movie. Part of the movie that I thought was good was the comedy, which I knew would be good in the movie, of course, because it is a Marvel film, and that's what they're really known for, their action and their comedy. In this movie, the comedy was good, especially taking bits from the high school part of the life of Peter Parker and Spider-Man. But what kept it grounded, I thought, was the villain. So that was a good mixture there. And, I just liked the feeling of the movie, how it was a modern movie. We don't see that a lot, where it felt like the movie was made in 2017. You know how you go back and you watch movies from the 80s or the 90s and you're like, yeah, that's from the 90s. This felt like it was from 2017. This was a modern movie. And I thought that overall it was a fun time. That's basically what I can say about it. It was a fun time. Was it a deep movie and a story that I really loved? No. But was it a lot of fun to watch? Yes, it was.
For me, it's kind of looking at it from two sides of the knife. On one side, like I was telling Calvin, if you're a non-comic fan and you're just a casual fan who's not really known, up on the Spider-Man history, who just goes to see a good movie, this is a great movie. This is a great movie from that aspect. Visually, they got that part right. Like Mitchell mentioned, the comedy in the movie was good for the moment. Keaton and Tom Holland both did a great job acting wise. Holland was one of the worries that I had going into the movie, but I felt like he did a good enough job. And then Michael Keaton's a great actor. I'm just not personally a fan of Vulture, the villain. Never have been, whether it be the comics, the cartoon, or in a movie sense. Vulture's just not my type of villain. So it did a good job with that. Also, I felt like the big swerve at the end, obviously, with, I can't remember the girl's name, ended up being the daughter of Keaton, and them finding out who each other was, and in the car on the way to homecoming and shit, which was cool. And even just some of the things that Spidey, had to do, kind of testing out his powers and the suit and all of that. I felt like that stuff was good, but the other side of the knife for me is the Spider-Man fan and me, the comic fan, and they completely destroyed Spider-Man's essence in that sense. Where this isn't Spider-Man this is not Spider-Man if you're a fan of the comics, this is a different Spider-Man. Complete different. He's not making his own stuff for the most part. He's
not like independent.
Exactly. He's not independent. Tony Stark is his mentor, and everybody who reads the comics knows that, if there was anybody that was ever his mentor in the comics, it was either going to be Connors or or Reed Richards. Those were the two guys that he leaned on in the comics. But at that point, that was just really more so for their scientific, for the scientific stuff. It wasn't necessarily for how to be a superhero, right? And so I feel like in that sense, they really just stripped down what Spider-Man was. Obviously, it was another high school movie for Spider-Man, which I didn't want to see another teen drama with Spider-Man. I want to see the adult Peter Parker, since that's what he spent most of the comics as. Obviously some of the other side characters, Flash Thompson, we'll get into that. That's one of the characters
don't
they
even
butchered.
Start.
They butchered him. So I mean, I felt like a big part of this movie was a big part of Spider-Man's essence and not just him, but the comic itself was changed for the movie to kind of adapt it to 2017's kind of
The worst of
social climate. You know what I'm saying? Where the whole Flash is not a big dumb jock and a bully. He's now he's now on what was the name of the team? The
Decathlon team.
Yeah, he was on the
like
Decathlon team, and he was.
I was never on one, so I wouldn't.
I was fine with him being a DJ, but if he was going to be a DJ, still let him be the high school jock DJ. That's
the DJ
cool.
part was hilarious. I will give him that.
He's just. So they butchered some of the characters. Aunt May. I mean, Marissa Tomei is fine as she is. That ain't Aunt May. That's just not Aunt May. And it's like I said, it all depends on how you're coming into the movie. If you just want to see a good movie, this is a great movie for you. If you're expecting to see some classic Spider-Man shit that brings you back to reading the comics, this is not the movie for you. You're better off with the first, with the very first two Spider-Man movies with Tobey Maguire and fucking Defoe as a Goblin and what's it called as Doc Ock. I can't never remember his name.
Alfred Molina.
Okay, Alfred Molina. So if you're looking for more of a Spider-Man, classic Spider-Man character, those are going to be the movies for you. If you just want to see a good, nice Marvel movie, this is going to be the one for you.
And actually, MG, you sparked two things in my mind while you were ranting about the movie right there and the comic books and all that. Two things, okay, that annoyed me in this movie. It seems like they want to make Spider-Man... They want to make him Deadpool Iron Man. Does it not seem like that at all to you guys? You know what I mean? Like he's too. I actually have a review coming out on my channel as well. But he's too comedic when he needs to be serious, and when he's serious, he could be comedic. Like it's like the Deadpool kind of thing where that's not Spider-Man. Like he's gonna take this situation seriously when it needs to be, but he's also gonna throw a joke in here and one or two in. And then as well, there was the things about the characters, the bad parts, Flash, Aunt May, but you brought up the high school stuff and them trying to adapt it to 2017. As I said, I actually like that part of it because I think you need to adapt and you need to separate yourselves from those previous movies. But at the same time, I think they didn't hit it right on a couple of the characters like Aunt May and like Flash Thompson. So those were two characters that I didn't really like.
Okay, mine's kind of like a retread of what I've already said in the past review. I thought Tom Holland did a pretty good job. Coming out of Civil War, I thought he was gonna be pretty good, just because he had the Spider-Man's fighting, he's constantly talking, and that that's something he normally does, and I think he gets that. He does that better than any of the other Spider-Man in the past. Him as Peter, I think he's definitely not, to me, the issues with this movie. While I do think it is a good movie, he's definitely not one of the issues. Michael Keaton was great. Robert Downey, when he was in there, was great. But outside of that, really, everyone else, Flash, we talked about him, garbage. The Ned character, y'all haven't mentioned him. I can't stand this dude. I'm probably in the minority, but I wanted to punch someone every time I saw this guy. He was so.
I didn't hate him.
Wait, is he Ned as in Ned Leeds or just Ned?
He's a character from. See, and They went
Because if he's Ned Leeds, then they really messed up. Because Ned Leeds was a huge character in the
I
comics.
believe that's him, bro. Hold up, give me a second. But I just didn't. It was maybe it was the actor, but they tried to go with the whole diversity thing. Fuck all that, man. Don't care about no diversity, man. Just get the characters right, man. I just want good side characters. Well, the one chick, that's not Aunt May. This woman's in her 50s. Are you serious? This woman that they got playing Aunt May is in her 50s.
All she's good for is the hot joke.
Exactly.
Once you get that out of the way, it's like, okay,
Why
like
she in
anything
the
else.
movie? Like,
Does she serve anything else?
She's not a bad actress, but it's just one of those roles of like, it's the same as Flash Thompson. Not as bad. Flash Thompson. He was
okay. How can somebody that's like this is a movie. This isn't real life, right? Okay, and how can somebody Peter Parker is a cooler, better looking dude than Flash Thompson? That doesn't make any sense.
Flash Thompson's supposed to be a jock. He get all the chicks. He makes fun of Peter. That's
like
what
at
he's
least
supposed to
show
be.
him, but Calvin, at least show him get it. Not even a modern cool person. It's just a loser, straight up.
That goes against
Like
everything pretty much he's ever been in any comics.
If you was gonna make him a bully, at least give him some type of advantage. Like he wasn't even like on the starters for the decathlon. He was the backup. At least make him like the captain of the decathlon or something, or like one of the main guys. No, he was a backup. When Peter came back, they kicked him off. They kicked him off the starters right away. And I'm like, what are you doing?
Yep. It was Ned Leeds, bro.
Oh no!
That's what I told you, dog. I was like, yo, I remember this character. Like,
yeah. So he in the comics, Ned Leeds was a big. He was big in the Goblin storyline when they thought the Goblin had died. Well, they thought when the Goblins were going against each other, and he was a huge centerpiece of the Spider-Man versus Wolverine comic. When when Ned he died in that comic, and that sent Spider-Man into a really dark place because he felt like a lot of it was his fault because they were over there on an assignment together for the Daily Bugle. So like a lot of the and on top of that, he was hit. His wife was hitting on was trying to get with Peter the whole comics and all of this other shit, and he's really entangled up in the Goblin storyline though. Especially with the fake Goblin and all of that other shit. So that is a huge mistake. And he's got some involvement with the X-Men as well. But
well, he is the Hobgoblin at certain points, right?
Yeah, he was. Well, yeah, because they tried to frame. No, I believe was he framed or did he frame somebody else? It was something like that though, where they were trying to find out who the Hobgoblin was, and either he got framed as being the Goblin or he framed somebody else as being the Hobgoblin. But yeah, this is a big mess up because when he died in that Spidey versus Wolverine comic, that led directly into that Kraven's Last Hunt comic, which is by a lot of people's, one of the best story arcs in Spider-Man comic history. And it kind of set the tone for what Spider-Man was about to go through, and that's a big issue that I have with all of these Spider-Man movies. They're too happy-go-lucky. A lot of the comics Spidey spent as an adult battling. I should save people, but on the other hand, people around me keep dying and keep getting hurt. Mm-hmm. And look at MJ. I'm never there for her, and I'm not getting anything in return. Like a lot of the Spider-Man comic was about this internal battle he would have. He had. I mean, a lot of people just think the black suit was for the symbiote. In the comics, the Black Cat gave him a black suit, and he wore that for a long time. And it wasn't the symbiote. He wore that suit because that's kind of the mood in what he was going through, for a long time. And so, for them to kind of keep going with the happy-go-lucky Spider-Man and not really give you the depth of what the Peter Parker character is a big mistake to me. Because I feel like they do it with a lot of other characters where they give you that depth of the the good and the bad, the internal battle that these characters go through, and they're not doing it with Spider-Man. I mean, they did it in the early Spider-Man movies.
Yeah,
When he
that's
just quit
exactly
being
what
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man 2 is all about, basically, right?
yeah.
And that's everyone's favorite Spider-Man movie. You wonder why? Because it's a Peter Parker movie more than anything.
And that's what a lot of the comics was. Him going through that internal battle.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that leads to something that was one of my issues in this movie. It was too easy. It was too easy for Peter Parker. He has everybody around him helping him. He has Aunt May. He has a best friend, Ned. He has Iron Man saving him every time he gets his ass kicked. You know, he has whatever. You know, it's not just Peter. He's not independent, like you said earlier. He's not having to make his own decisions. He's not his own hero. He's Iron Man Jr., and Iron Man, the dad, is always there to save him when he gets his butt kicked. So, I don't know.
Have you ever seen the recent Spider-Man cartoon?
This was very similar.
That's what they were doing. If you look at
The Amazing Spider-Man?
No, it was just Spider-Man. They had a couple different series. The last one was Spider-Man versus the Sinister Six.
Yeah.
But it was Spider-Man and young Spider-Man, and he was going to school at the Shield Academy with all these young superheroes like Luke Cage and Iron Fist and Nova.
Wasn't that Amazing Spider-Man? Like the
Was it called The
cartoon?
Amazing Spider-Man? It might have been called The Amazing Spider-Man, but because they changed the name for each run of it they did, and the last run was versus the Sinister Six.
And all that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's eerily similar to that.
Yeah, where the Avengers were already established, and Spider-Man was this young kid, and he was going to, school at Shield Tower, and he was trying to make his way onto the Avengers and shit like that. No.
Exactly what it felt like.
But
Man, I love the 90s cartoon.
At least Spider-Man was still the guy saving the day, though. Even when the Avengers did show up, he was still the guy saving the day, which really set him apart.
Yeah. And it was something else. Like, I know a lot of people talk about, okay, Iron Man wasn't in much of the movie in terms of him showing up. A lot of the trailers were just there to sell.
It was Ultimate Spider-Man, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's it. That was
Yep.
Yeah. The Iron Man stuff. It was just to sell the movie. Like, I don't think they really even needed to do that. Did they really have no faith in Spider-Man? Are you fucking kidding me? But
Even when you look at like the box office, that they shouldn't have been concerned over that. Like Iron Man shouldn't have been in the movie if they wanted to sell, because even the worst Spider-Man movies have made pretty good money at the box office.
yeah.
If you look it up.
Well, the second Sony one was
Oh yeah, I didn't do too.
that one did bad, but the rest of them, yeah.
Well, it almost made $800 million.
The second one for Sony?
Yeah, I think so.
Impossible, because the first Spider-Man was the first and second Spider-Man were the highest grossing ones.
Okay, it made 700. My bad.
Damn.
700.
Really?
Yeah, the first Amazing Spider-Man made almost 800, and the second one made 700. So not that much difference.
Yep. But
Wow.
the first, despite him not being much, Iron Man being in much of the movie, the first half of the movie was about him trying to impress Iron Man. And I'm just looking at it like, I can't stand the fact that Iron Man saving him. Spider-Man always made his own mistakes. He always learned from his own mistakes. That's why so many people around him gotten hurt. That's why he's considered a menace, which is another thing they didn't do.
Yeah, where the heck is the Daily Bugle?
Like, were they that afraid of not being able to do J. Jonah that well? And if it's gonna look like how they fucked up Ned and how they fucked up Flash, I guess I see why they didn't do it, because they were gonna screw it up. He's probably gonna be a old woman or something. The diversity. Remember? Fuck, man. And I just felt as though, because always with Spider-Man, he always had the city split. Because of the smearing of the Daily Bugle, he was always seen as by a portion of New York as a menace. Other portion knew that this guy was a hero, and that was nowhere to be found. They could use it in a future movie. They could at least show us something. The whole store gets blown up. Where's the thing that blames Spider-Man? Where's the thing that partially blames Spider-Man? That wasn't even there. He was able to skate by with almost no blame. even despite there was cameras, so that doesn't people don't think logically when it comes to shit like that. When it comes to all that kind of destruction, and that annoys me. The whole suit, the suit being pretty much a tight Iron Man suit.
Okay, can we talk about the suit? Because did you notice what the suit did do and what it took away from Spider-Man? Yeah. Why does he not have spider sense in this movie?
When he went to the OG suit that he originally made, I still didn't see it.
He still didn't have it. Are they that afraid of repeating things that happened in the other movies?
The spider sense. And guess what the director said? The director said he's still getting used to his powers. Spider sense was one of the first things he ever had. It's automatic. It's not something you cut on and off.
It's the first thing you would notice if you were Spider-Man, right? Because you would be like, holy crap, I'm hearing all this stuff. I can see everything, like what's going on, right? Why would you not have that right away?
Yeah, as we talk about this, my score is going lower and lower.
I feel like we're being really negative.
But we're pointing out shit that's like, why would they take that? Like the spider sense. Why? Why is that not in the movie?
Mitchell, Ned Leeds was Hobgoblin in the comics, and he framed Flash as being Hobgoblin at one point. That's what it was.
Okay, so we have Hobgoblin, and Hobgoblin's fat, to quote Scott Steiner.
And he framed a nerd who was a DJ at one point down the road.
but could is the guy that's playing there? Is he intimidating in any way? Like you couldn't even make. I think my sister could beat him up. Garbage. Why did they cast that dude, man?
He was. I mean, he wasn't. I guess Calvin hated him.
Trash, man.
He had like maybe 2 good moments in the movie.
But man, look at this fucking.
He has his place, but not as Ned Leeds. Okay. Yeah, that's what I'll say. He has his place. He just be a friend.
Guy that they made up just for this.
But if they never go down that road, then maybe I'll accept it more. But we'll have to see what happens.
I mean, I hope they'll do it better.
I cannot see that guy as the Hobgoblin. That would be the worst casting decision ever.
Look, it's just so many things that they took away. Like we talked about the Independence, but the fact that a lot of the gadgets that he was using, the different types of webs, he eventually makes that. But now, now people are gonna make Iron Man made all this stuff. The casual people that don't know that he made the tracers, that don't know he made the different types of webs. He even in the comics he had webs he could form into like a parachute. Like he had all kinds of stuff. But now people are like, Iron Man made all this stuff for him. And
you know what's weird? I thought Tom Holland was good. Like, I think his performance was good, but at no point in the movie did I ever feel like I was connected to Spider-Man. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't feel like... He didn't feel in jeopardy at any point in the movie. That he had one scene where he, like, lifts... That's straight out of the comic book, not even, like, new to the movies or anything. They just took that straight out of the comic book, which is fine, and it was good. And that was one of the best scenes in the movie. But, like... They didn't make anything in this film that wasn't from a comic book that was actually, like, good. You know what I mean? Like, they tried to make everything different and in a different way from the previous movies and from the comics and everything. And they tried to make this a younger Spider-Man. But even when they tried to make their own things, it never ended up being some of the brightest spots of the movies. In the Raimi movies, when they did deviate from something, it was some of the brightest spots of the movies. Like, for example, the Dr. Octopus character and his change. That was one of the brighter spots of that movie because they changed that character. Instead, in this one, the best scenes in this movie came straight from the comic books, and they relied on that. And I just felt like I never connected to his performance. I never was like, I never saw myself as a teenager in Tom Holland's Spider-Man at all because it felt like it was too easy for him. It felt like Iron Man was always there for him, and it didn't feel like Spider-Man to me, It's something about it.
Yeah, and the scene you're talking about is when pretty much everything caved in on him, and he
actually gets emotional in that scene,
Yeah, I think the last quarter of the movie was great.
It's really good. Yeah.
From the Keaton, when Keaton finds out who he is, and of course, when Peter Parker sees that, oh shit, my date for the fucking prom is the villain that I've been going.
The swerve was the best part of the movie.
Yeah, and then the whole, when they were in the car, and he was like, I'll go ahead in. I'm gonna talk to Peter, daddy talk or whatever. That's a good scene. That scene was great.
It's a really good scene, yeah.
Oh,
great acting.
Was great because of how they set it up. Because you didn't see you never seen those characters anywhere close to each other on screen. So when it set up as he was the dad, it was like, oh shit.
And they played it off really well. Yeah, it was great. It was great acting by both guys. The car scene was awesome.
Oh, Tom Holland when they were taking the pictures and
when they were taking the pictures. That was good. Like the last 25% of the movie. Good point, Calvin. Like I even came out of the movie, and even while I was watching the movie, right in the middle of it, I was about 70% through, I think, and I was like, "Is this movie gonna hook me in any way at the end? Like, are we just gonna continue to go? Like, he's just gonna fight the Vulture, and then the movie's gonna end, or?" It didn't feel like until that swerve, I was like, okay, now you got me. Now we have something here. Because it felt like it was just Spider-Man, doing his little Spider-Man thing, saving the old lady, walking her across the street, and having some comedy bits. But it never really got emotional or like a good story in it. But then once the 25% came in at the end of the movie, that's when you really hooked. It hooked me. So I feel like when people leave the movie, watching it the first time, they like it more because the ending is the best part of the movie, which is a good thing. But the rest of the movie, I felt was mediocre, but the end took it another level up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I agree. And this is what they should have done with his suit. They still could have had the whole thing where, okay, he had his original suit, and Stark gave him another suit that's just more durable and has a couple of features in it, like the GPS that he used at some point, right? And then the AI system, right? That would have been cool. And then all the additional stuff should have came from Spidey, from Peter himself hacking into the suit and adding the functions himself, like all the different webs and stuff like that. That would have been cool.
Then that would play more on the science, how good of a scientist.
I did like how they made him seem smart in high school and stuff, and he's this smart kid and everything. I thought that was really good. But then once he got to the suit,
the web fluid and everything when he was in chemistry class.
Yeah, it once they gave him the suit, it kind of stripped that side of his personality away in a way.
But I did like character. They didn't make him relatable. Like Mitchell was saying, it's hard to connect to him because what do you really relate to with him as a character? And this is why the essence of Spider-Man is so important to me, because when he goes through in the comics, that's something that everybody would end up going through if they were really a superhero. Do I save the city, or do I keep watching people close to me get hurt and die? Is that dynamic that puzzles a lot of superheroes. I mean, you look at the Batmans of the world, and especially a guy like a Daredevil, if you're into the Netflix shows.
What's a great example, I think, is the show Arrow.
That's probably the best example. Or you look at even Flash with Barry, who puts the weight of the world on his shoulders, even though the people around him keep telling him you don't have to. It's that dynamic that makes people invest in these characters, not just the superhero side, but the person as well.
And do you think that they killed that dynamic even more by having the reveal to not only his best friend, but also Aunt May, which I found absolutely puzzling. At the end of the movie, I was like, what the I literally had the same expression as Aunt May right there. And I was like,
it was put a cheap joke.
It was.
Yeah, I mean, she did find out who he was eventually anyways, but
not this early, though.
That's a big thing too. Peter is really big on protecting his character. I mean, and protecting his identity to the point where who was the first MJ probably, which you can tell in the movie the girl Zendaya was kind of figuring it out that he was Spider-Man, which I thought that was cool because she never mentioned it or anything like that.
That
is
cool.
Just putting pieces together. Yeah. I like that, right? Because that just shows she's just smarter than the average person. But But then you got, Marissa Tomei finding out at the end of the movie way too soon. I mean, just put it this way: in the comics, Wolverine, who is, who has who could smell people from like 18 miles away, he didn't put together that Peter Parker was Spider-Man until years and years and years later in the Spider-Man versus Wolverine comic, which came out in the late 80s. And they had been in comics and done stuff together with the Avengers and stuff like that all those previous times before. And he had just found out at the end of towards the end of the 80s that Peter and Spider-Man were the same person. Like, that's how much Peter protects his identity. He doesn't tell anybody who he is. Daredevil's one of the only other people who knows who, Peter Parker is Spider-Man too. But it's just something he keeps close to his chest.
Bro, there was a time where if you read some of the the new Avengers, this is more modern, they don't know who he is. This is with Luke Cage, this is with Iron Fist, I can't remember who else was on the team. The Thing, he was on that team. They don't know who he is.
Mm-hmm. Even on teams he's worked with, yep.
Too. But they don't know who he is. And I was like, he, even despite being on a team, he still keeps his identity secret.
And I feel like that does strip away some of the character, like, struggle, his inner struggle of wanting to be Peter Parker and having this life without Spider-Man and also wanting to save people and be Spider-Man. Now that everybody basically knows who he is it that difficult for him?
Which I think was a little hint at the end of the movie, which I've been seeing around on the internet, where he turned down the offer from Tony Stark. One of the big rumors out there is that Tony was going to announce him as the newest Avenger, and he was going to basically tell the world that he was Spider-Man.
Yeah.
So, because he didn't have a suit on, he wasn't going into the press conference with the suit on. So, he basically turned that down, avoided disaster right there. But it's just certain, it's not like it's minor details that are issues with me with the Spider-Man, origin and character that they messed up. It's the major things that they messed up. If you went to a different high school or, had a different, high school sweetheart or something outside of MJ or something like that, or, had a different set of people around him, that's cool. But the major parts of Peter Parker, the character, and as Spider-Man is where they ruined, that's where I have the issue at.
Yeah, that's what we really liked about too. And looking back, I did watch too a few weeks ago actually. Spider-Man always, in that movie in particular, he had to split saving people that don't like him, just because of, he was coercing with Doc Ock, which you knew it wasn't true, but the Daily Bugle pictured it that way. So many people started to believe it because of the destruction Doc Ock was doing, and Spider-Man being there trying to stop it. They thought he was helping him, and he had to fight with people that don't like him, saving people that don't like him. Really crappy life in terms. He had an apartment. We had to share a bathroom with just about everybody on one floor,
and his doorknob didn't work.
Yeah, that place sucked. The owner sucked. Aunt May was getting foreclosed on. His relationship with all his friends, disaster. Life sucked. But despite that, he was, of course he had his troubles. Of course they did Spider-Man no more, and you saw the inner struggle with him fighting between two lives.
Yep.
And they still have an opportunity to do that, but you didn't even see anything close to that in this movie.
That's why
and the best
still saw it. William Dafoe was amazing as Goblin. He had a line that I will always remember in that movie. No matter how much you save them, they will still hate you.
Yep.
And one way to put it best, someone said this once. You want Peter Parker to be you, and you want to be Spider-Man.
Yeah, because the whole college being broke, people can relate to that. People can relate to being in college. You don't have a bunch of money. They can relate to that. But like this new one, like you got a billionaire helping you out. Like who can relate to that? You got who can really relate to that?
Yeah.
And this is probably, in my opinion, the biggest flaw in the movie is they don't even address the moral center of the character.
Uncle Ben.
They don't even address Uncle Ben once. They don't even address. I understand they don't want to. Don't want to do the origin story. They're afraid of Sam Raimi's movies. Blah 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 blah. Whatever. Okay, they didn't even say, nothing about great power comes great responsibility. Nothing. Where is that at?
Which is the biggest tagline of Spider-Man history.
Why is this not in the movie? Why is Spider-Man Spider-Man without Uncle Ben dying? Why did Aunt May not bring that up one time? Why is Spider-Man not telling Tony Stark why he's Spider-Man because this happened? You know what I mean?
She had an opportunity to. Remember when he came back home late?
Oh, when he said he lost the internship?
Yes, she had an opportunity to mention something like, when she was talking about she was worried and she was calling all these places and whatnot. She could have mentioned Uncle Ben. She could have mentioned, like, it reminds me of Uncle Ben, lost him, don't want to lose you too. Some shit like that. Nothing. They're so afraid of mentioning Uncle Ben just because of the first two movies. So, Uncle Ben's been important to Spider-Man. Did they read the comics?
And Calvin, that's a theme that I saw throughout the entire movie. Like, they don't want to go through Times Square again because it was in a movie. They don't want to have them fight in Queens because it was in a movie. They don't want to do this and that because it was in a movie already. Now we hear that they don't want to do a villain that's already been in the movie because it's already been in a movie. Like, they tried to do everything different. Oh, let's put Spider-Man in Washington because that makes a lot of sense.
They tried to do so much just because of Sam Raimi. And
so they played it really safe.
Did Spider-Man ever punch or kick anyone in this movie?
No.
Holy fuck.
I didn't see a punch or a kick.
He just, why? Like, I know in the cartoon, he didn't throw that many punches. He kicked a lot. This is because of the nature of the way he fights.
And he's like a gymnast, basically, like a really ridiculous gymnast. Why wouldn't he kick anybody?
Exactly. Where's the web swing and kick? Like, I'm thinking about it. He didn't ever punch or kick anyone. That's crazy. All the times he fought, he was just webbing people, which is something he normally does, but there's going to still be some physical contact.
And
actually,
this is
people in Civil War.
This is kind of a small flaw in the movie, but he never even beat the Vulture.
No, he didn't.
One thing I give him credit for, like, he did a Spider-Man thing that we know. He tried to save someone even despite all the shit.
Yeah, I did like that. That's at the center of the character. There were some good things in this movie. We're ripping it apart. But there
were some good things.
There were some good things. It was fun. It was. I think it's being overrated though, a lot.
People calling it the greatest Spider-Man movie, which we know is bull. You got people calling it.
At best, it's third. At best.
Yeah, because I in my video, I fucked up. I said it was better than the first one. It's not better than the first one. After watching the second time, it's not better than the first one. Just because it just doesn't have the emotion. You don't get invested in the character.
Part of me wonders what Andrew Garfield would have been able to do with this type of in the role that Tom Holland is in. They played it so
safe, man.
Yeah, without Sony really having their hands on it as much as they did with Garfield's Spider-Man. Because I liked Garfield. I didn't think Garfield was the problem with those movies, and part of me wonders, could Garfield do a better job as Spider-Man in the MCU version of Spider-Man than
I don't think Garfield was bad, but I just didn't think I never bought Garfield as Peter Parker. That was the main thing. I just never bought him. But I think he would have been, I don't know, he would have been better in this movie. But I don't think he would have been better than Tom Holland. I don't know.
They probably wouldn't have been able to go with the high school thing because Andrew Garfield looks a lot older. Tom Holland looks so young.
But Andrew Garfield is a great actor. Yeah. I don't know if he was necessarily meant to be Spider-Man, but he is a great actor. Like that war movie he was in, that was amazing.
Oh, I told Calvin he's probably going to be one of those guys who gets another superhero movie and just absolutely destroys it a second go around, kind of like Ryan Reynolds or Chris Evans or a lot of these other people who've done superhero movies, and the first go around has been horrible, and the second go around as another character it turns out good. He's probably going to be one of those guys.
Yeah.
But to Spider-Man's credit, though, they've done a great job with casting villains. I mean, Tom Hardy as Venom, that's sold. I don't even care about, at that point, I didn't even care about what the movie was going to be about. When they said Tom Hardy as Venom, you got me, right? Keaton as Vulture, great. The guys who played the previous Goblins, even James Franco as early Harry Osborn. I thought he did a good job as Harry Osborn. This is before the world hated him.
He was great.
He was great as Harry
revisiting
Osborn,
those,
right?
Revisiting those movies, like we just revisited those. We did a video on it, me and Calvin, and he was great in that role. I think Calvin can agree on that too.
And then even Doc Ock, they've had some great casting as villains, and it just sucks that they won't be able to use them because we don't need another origin story or another Goblin story, but you could still use him as Goblin at some point. We already know who he is. He's established as a villain. If you ever decide to do something Sinister Six wise, use him as Goblin, please. We don't need to reintroduce him or any of that other stuff. Just bring him in. Say no more.
I can I know we were some of the ones like, oh, we don't want to see Uncle Ben.
Wait a minute. But that was another noticeable difference. No Harry Osborn.
Yeah. Ned.
It just hit me. There was no Harry Osborn.
Bunch of characters like there are. Let's just say low. Like even Ned. Like Ned is a known character, but come on, Harry Osborn.
Wow. No Harry Osborn. No Oscorp.
They were so like just looking at. They were so afraid to do anything.
Safe.
Those first movies did.
Safe.
Those supporting. They changed all the supporting characters. Hell, let's just be honest, they changed the race of many of them. Flash Thompson, the fuck was that?
Honestly, I thought the guy who played Harry Osborn in the second batch of the Amazing Spider-Man movies was good as that character. The movies just weren't great.
Yeah. But they just played it so safe. And people are saying this movie it's a good movie, but the people saying it's the best superhero movie this year. It's not. It's not better.
I gave you that information there, Calvin. I sent you that tweet. It's on Rotten Tomatoes. Let me see. On Rotten Tomatoes, Spider-Man Homecoming has a 93% and is a 7.7 average, which would put it next to The Dark Knight, Spider-Man 2, Superman the original, Logan, and Iron Man for grades on Rotten Tomatoes. So Spider-Man 2 has a 94%, 8.3 average. Dark Knight has a 94%, 8.6, and Logan has a 93%, 7.9 for reference.
You have people that say it captures Spider-Man. Where?
Well, here's the thing about that movie, and same with those other movies. A lot of the people who got behind those characters weren't necessarily comic fans before or necessarily knowledgeable on the history of those characters, which is what I mentioned earlier, is the fact that if you're not a comic snob or somebody who's really deep into the history from the comics, this is a great movie. This is a great movie if you're not that guy. If you're just a casual fan who goes to watch movies and look for good superhero movies, this is a great movie for you. And you look at those other movies, Iron Man 1. Nobody cared about Iron Man as far as casual fans until that movie. The Dark Knight 2. The second movie. Nobody really invested that much into Batman movies until that Heath Ledger Joker performance in that movie. A lot of those movies that are higher up on that list are movies that fans were not invested in the characters until that movie, and they were casual fans. They were just, I know of the guy, but I don't really know his history from the comics or anything like that. So in that sense, that's the great thing about this movie. Is just you got a whole another demographic of fans who read comics who are pissed off at you.
Pretty much.
But then again, did we ever get was it a great movie though? Because we never really got that emotion in it, where we didn't really have the stakes where for me, it couldn't be recognized as a great movie. I think it's a good movie. Yeah. Don't get me wrong, but I don't know if it's a great movie because we never got that emotional pull in it. We had one scene, like I said, where I was like, that is Spider-Man. That is an emotional scene. You know what I mean?
I think from what he was from a casual standpoint, they don't look at it the way we do. They don't look for that emotion. They saw jokes. They saw him swinging around. They saw different gadgets. That's what all they saw. They didn't see the emotions of it. You got
Kind of like
that's seen this movie. Has never seen the originals. I've saw it.
Yeah.
I've seen it on Twitter. Never.
it's kind of
seen
like
the original.
Guardians. Everybody gives the first Guardians movie a pass for that horrible ending,
Oh,
and people act like it's the greatest superhero movie of all time. And don't get me wrong, it's in the top 10 of the greatest superhero movies ever, but a lot of people ignore how bad the ending for the first Guardians was. But a lot of the people don't care because they got invested in the characters and they didn't know who the Guardians were beforehand.
yep. To them, it was a fun movie. It had jokes. You laughed. All that.
Exactly. So I think it depends on what side
It's
of
a
the
good
ball
comedy
you
movie.
fall on.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great comedy movie. There you go.
It's good if you're not a comic expert, basically.
Yep. So, okay, where would you guys rate one scale of 1 to 10? You know we're gonna come to that. I'll tell y'all tell me yours and I'll say mine last. Well, my review.
I was somewhere between a 7 and an 8 before, but I think I'm at a hard 7 now.
Okay. MG.
Calvin already knows my rating.
What, a 4?
That's all.
Did I guess it?
Mm.
What you say?
Close.
A 4.
You're close.
You're close. It's higher than that.
Wait, so
Higher.
is it better than Amazing Spider-Man or Amazing Spider-Man 2?
To me,
Okay.
I got it third.
I hated Amazing Spider-Man 2, especially because Jamie Foxx was in it.
Oh.
So that movie automatically got like a 0 for me. But the Amazing Spider-Man, I would have to go back and rewatch that again. But for me, I gave this one a 5. But there's reason behind it though, because like I said, I'm looking at it from two sides of the coin. So the whole thing out of that 5 is from the fact that as a standalone, just comic book action comedy movie, it was great. But
That's why it's a 7 for me.
But I can't go higher than that for the simple fact of how much they veered away from Spider-Man's history and essence. That is what keeps me from going higher than a 5, because they completely destroyed who Peter Parker was from the comics. That's not Peter Parker in the movie. They might as well just call him, I don't know, they might as well just give him a different name altogether at this point. So that's the reason I kind of just went with middle ground here. Because I can't say the movie was as a standalone movie that it was bad, because it was visually it was written well. You had some great performances from Holland and Keaton, but just the Spider-Man fan in me and the comic book fan in me, I just can't give them a pass on how much they ruined the character of Peter Parker and the essence of Peter Parker. I can't let that go.
But I always see this. I'm looking at reviews and I'm looking at, just articles in general, Twitter, whatever it may be. And people actually feel like they nailed the character. And I'm like, are you serious? Like, do you understand the character? I'm confused.
Oh, in this movie.
It's that initial reaction. It's the Spider-Man's finally on Marvel thing. And I think, once again, once the dust settles, I think everybody's going to start coming back down to earth with it. It's kind of like Guardians of the Galaxy 2, right? Where there was that initial buzz about the movie, and then you watch it a second time or a third time, where you sit back and you start to think about it, and you're like, this isn't even touching the first one. This isn't even in the same ballpark as the first Guardians movie. Or with the Wonder Woman, or, where you kind of sit back and you start to analyze some things, and you're like, it's still a great movie. Not as great as I thought it was initially, but still a great movie. One of the greatest superhero movies of all time. It's just not as high as I had it coming out of it the first time, or even a Deadpool or a Logan in the opposite sense, where you watch them and then you watch them a second time and you appreciate them even more. I feel the same way about Logan and Deadpool, where it's like
Deadpool. I didn't really get that, but Logan, I haven't seen it twice actually. I should.
So I think it's the initial reaction. We're still, it's only been a couple of days since the movie's released. Everybody really hasn't had that much time to sit on it or watch it again or really just take in everything that it means and is done. So I think, ask about, 4 or 5 months from now, a lot of people's ratings are going to be different. It's like Suicide Squad. Every time I watch it, I hate it even more. I think I think at this point I'm down to like a 3 on Suicide Squad. You know, if I watch it again,
Wait, what's Suicide Squad? That happened?
Exactly. You know, or even like Man of Steel. To me, it gets better every time I see it. Yep. I appreciate it.
I don't understand that. I don't understand the hate for it.
Because it's dark.
I think that's really good Superman movie.
It's too dark because it's Superman.
Right? Or the first of the Dark Knight trilogy, right? Where you watch
that's a great movie.
You're like, it's good, but the more you watch it in comparison to the second movie, it's like, wow, this really isn't that great compared to
I think Batman Begins is phenomenal, actually.
No, it was good, but the second movie was so great.
The
like
third movie just ruined Bane.
Yeah, oh my god. God, what they did to Bane is what they did to Peter Parker here. That's essentially what they did.
Motherfucker was 5'9".
He still looked like he could rip your head off, though.
Like, Bane was 6'8", 500 pounds of pure muscle in the comics. You can't make him 5'2".
Yeah.
But it's kind of like, you know, like I said, with the first Dark Knight, you know, with the Dark Batman Begins movie, you know, it's like, it was a good movie at the time, and then you watch, you watch the second movie, and it's like, you know, the first movie isn't as good now. Still a great movie, but it isn't as good after seeing the second movie, and you see the peak of what it could be. It's like, I gotta drop the other movie one rate, like a point rating now. It just happens.
And you know what's crazy? Thanks to all these other Spider-Man movies we've had, I think that the Sam Raimi movies just keep going up.
They do, and I mean, look, it's not Tom Holland's fault. No, it's not Mike Keaton's fault. You know, there's certain people who aren't
writers, man.
Yeah, so there's still some good that came out of this movie. And like I said, visually, you know, this might be the best visual Spider-Man movie we've seen.
Oh yeah.
From a visual standpoint, you know, that part was great. I can't take that away. That's one of the advantages of time, too. You know,
it better be. It's 2017.
Exactly.
Yeah,
you know,
superhero movies are bigger than they've ever been at this point. And
exactly.
We know Disney. They're gonna throw money into their MCU movies. They're gonna throw money. Look at all the look at Guardians. Look at the visuals on Guardians. Both movies.
You know, the real test is going to be the second movie because
I think it's going to be much better. Much better, but just because I think that tie to Tony Stark has been severed. So now we just want to see the emotion, man.
He's not in the second movie, so yeah, it should be.
We want to see the emotion. Like we want to see him really grow as a character. Did he grow in the movie? Yeah, because he was pretty much an amateur, but you didn't really see because other people were fixing his mistakes.
Yeah, because the one thing that worries me is Marvel, outside of the Captain America movies, the second go around, historically, not good. Not good. I mean, Age of Ultron, Iron Man 2.
Oh, Thor, I can't wait for Iron Man 5.
The first two Thors were horrible, if you ask me.
I would say Dark World is better than the first one, but
I hate both of them. I hate both of them. This is a Thor guy.
Mandarin was a fucking actor.
You know, you look at Guardians 2. You know, second go around, they haven't necessarily hit home runs. Yep. So that's going to be the real test for Marvel. They have sophomore slumps. That's the big thing with them. They usually bring it back around on the third movie. Sophomore slumps of third movie for Iron Man was trash. Never mind, I take that back.
But it was better than the second one though.
Cap.
Better than the second, yes, but Cap has been the only one with good sequels. Well, I mean, Guardians. The sequel to Guardians was good. It just wasn't the first one. Yeah. So they hit sophomore slumps, and I think they got too many. They're being pulled from too many directions right now in terms of trying to appease different groups of people, and they just need to pick one direction that they want to go in and stick with it, whether people like it or not. You can never please everybody. This is something that we've heard throughout time, whether it be your parents or whether it be TV or whatever. You can never please everybody. You stick to one group or one side that you want to go with, and make that the absolute best you can do, and the people will follow. That's all you gotta do. You know, Iron Man, they just stuck with the action side of stuff. Are they the greatest movies? No, but the people have flown in to see those movies in groves to see those movies when you look at the box office, right? So just stick with the
great though in box office.
Oh, he should. I think they're predicting what, like 120 for the first week.
Yeah,
It's
So-
Spider-Man, man.
He's gonna sell regardless. It's Spider-Man.
So the Sony ones did well.
So, I mean, especially with the good reviews out there and stuff, I wouldn't be surprised if this movie did, And
You know what? I am kind of sensing. People were making a joke before, but I am sensing kind of a Marvel bias by these reviews.
Dude, I see it now.
I do not
see
think this
shit
movie
now,
was
bro.
better than
This
Wonder
movie-
Woman. This movie was not.
No, it
better
wasn't
than-
better. Woman.
Like, it's definitely not. It's not
But
better than Wonder
that-
Woman.
That Marvel bias has been out there from the, at least for the last, decade at this point since Iron Man came out, because DC has had so many misses that people hold that against them even when they do put something great out like Man of Steel or Wonder Woman. Unless it's the second Dark Knight movie with Heath Ledger, a lot of people just shit on DC movies to shit on them. It's just the honest truth. I mean, like I said, if it's good, it's good. If it's bad, it's bad. Suicide Squad was trash.
Agreed.
That's one movie I've seen people giving a pass, though. They did
It doesn't exist though to me.
huge
So.
in the box office for no reason. That movie shouldn't have passed 300 million.
Batman v Superman didn't get a pass though. That definitely didn't get a pass.
Well, they ruined them.
It's not that good.
They gave away the whole movie in the trailer.
It's not as bad as people say, but it's not that good either.
Well, you can just watch the trailer and see the whole movie anyways. I mean, you could just skip over all the first hour and a half, 2 hours of, them trying to figure shit out and then get to the action in the trailer, and that was the movie. But
I would go my score. My original score in the review was 8. I was an idiot. Score now after all been talking about this for a while. I'm with Mitch. I'm going with a 7. It's it's a good fun movie from the sense of comedy, action, visuals and everything, but it's I think Tom Holland did a good job with Spider-Man, but the story around him, majority of the characters around him, wasn't that good. And I don't think people really see that. You got reviewers who are saying it captures the essence of Spider-Man. I don't understand that with so many things like the Spider Sense not being there, getting so much help from Iron Man. Really no emotional weight, no Daily Bugle smearing Spider-Man, which is a big thing. No Uncle Ben. With great power comes great responsibility. Not even mentioned. You can mention that and be like, okay, that's an important part. And anyone that complains about it is an idiot.
I'm trying to be part of the Avengers. Spider-Man's always wanted to work alone. That's never been. He's never begged to be on a team. He wants to work alone.
Spider-Man should be that character where he's independent, and when he's called upon and the stakes are big enough, he'll go.
Yeah.
But he doesn't go right away,
Yeah, the first half of the movie was him trying to impress Iron Man. So I'm sticking with a 7. What do y'all think about they're gonna do with the second? Oh, first off, let's talk about that trash Captain America post-credit bullshit.
I did like the things during the movie. I did like the Captain America bit during the movie, but at the end, I was
that
like,
was
what
funny.
the
Where
heck
he
was that?
put his hand up for the handshake, and Hannibal Buress was standing on the wrong side of the TV. That was funny. And the whole "so you got detention" thing, and Peter just walks away. I'm like, yeah, that's right. Walk away from Captain America.
Just funny as shit. He's like, I know he is war criminal, all that. We by law we got to show this. Come on. He was just like all nonchalant, like he didn't give a damn.
Oh, I forgot to say, shout out to Donald Glover, by the way.
Oh yeah, that was the guy. He was in. He was talking to Spider-Man. Spider-Man did have like a funny
some drug addict
type moment.
He's gonna be his character was the Prowler in the comics. So
Yeah.
We'll see where that goes, but I know they said they hope they can get that character on the screen too. Though they just gotta see.
Oh, okay. So what do you guys think for like the next movie? What do you think they're gonna do?
It better be Craven. At this point, I'm tired of waiting.
Yeah, I want to see Craven.
I really don't know. I just know that they're planning the Sinister Six. I really want to see the Kingpin, though. I talked about it before. I want to see the Kingpin. It better happen. The Kingpin's an awesome villain for Spider-Man, especially if you've ever seen the '90s animated show. I hope they do the Kingpin, but I know they won't. I'm cool with Kraven. That's a great character, great stories. I still think they should do Green Goblin. What is the Spider-Man series without Green Goblin? So, I don't know. But I don't know what they're going to do. I just hope that they capture some of the emotion and they give Spider-Man back some of his independence. I just hope that happens.
I'm sticking with Kraven. That's my favorite Spider-Man villain ever. And to me, from a psychological standpoint,
it will add that emotion.
There is no other villain in the Spider-Man history that poses a bigger psychological threat to Spider-Man than Kraven, because he's a hunter and he hunts. And on top of that, physically, with his senses, he is able to match Spider-Man. And I mean, you just look at some of the history in the comics. I mean, the lengths that Kraven was willing to go to. He literally tried to defame Spider-Man's name by burying him alive. He thought he killed Spider-Man, buried him alive, took on the Spider-Man suit, and just did a whole bunch of horrible. Went out there and killed He went and killed criminals to defame the Spider-Man name. And when the whole charade was done, Kraven finally felt like he won, and he killed himself. He committed suicide in the comics. That's the whole Kraven's Last Hunt thing. So, psychologically and physically, I feel like for to help the Peter Parker and Spider-Man characters on screen, you need a guy who can match Spider-Man on a physical level, especially with the senses, and psychologically that makes Peter have to think in order to win. I think Kraven is the best bet. If you're going from like a physical standpoint and you want to see the best matchup, like, you know, fighting wise, obviously Venom, Carnage, Goblin, those would be the next best bets. But I think, to me, Kraven is the best option. For a second movie, yes. And Sinister Six is obviously, I think, where everybody would go for a third one.
They definitely building towards that. But
which Kraven is in the Sinister Six. Yeah. So there's no way you can't really pre-introduce him. Because you got Scorpion established. They don't need to reestablish Goblin if you're going to do a Sinister Six movie. You got Shocker, who just got, basically established somewhat. You got Vulture. The only two that Doc Ock has been established in previous movies. The only one out of the Sinister Six who hasn't been really established yet is Kraven.
Yep. I think that would be a good to have him in the movie, then later have the Sinister Six. I agree. I think if they're trying to use a villain that they never used in the movie, I think Kraven is really good.
I wouldn't mind Mysterio.
I think Mysterio would fit this universe very well.
Yeah, he would, especially when you look at what happened at the end of his run, where basically he realized the errors in his ways, and kind of Spidey kind of turned him around, turned his life around somewhat. So, I mean, because of his daughter and whatnot. So, I mean, I think that'd be another good one to kind of add some depth to the characters. We've already seen Lizard before, and Connors. I mean, an interesting one would be to see both the Goblins at the same time. Hobgoblin and Green Goblin. That would be interesting. Yeah.
Not if it's Fat Ned.
No, definitely not Fat Ned.
They can't do it now, unless they completely change who the Hobgoblin is. Unless they completely change that, there's no way. There's no way they can do it. They really messed up that casting choice, man. It's a bad casting for that character.
You know why they did it though?
Diversity trash. Yeah. And comedic
purposes.
You can still put somebody in there funny.
Because the movie didn't have enough of that before.
Exactly. Spider-Man was enough. He was funny enough.
Oh no, I'm really worried, because if they're not gonna put Spider-Man in the Venom movie, I'm really worried now.
Okay, so
no.
to kind of go away from the Spider-Man, next movies y'all like interested in seeing? At least that
Thor.
we've seen. Thor. I would say
Thor.
I'm pumped for Justice League, but the next movie I'm gonna go see is Planet of the Apes.
Oh, that does look good. Yeah. Has either of you seen Transformers yet?
Ew.
I'm on the fence about seeing it. Like, I already know I'm not gonna like it. But I mean, it's Optimus Prime, man.
Don't do it.
Everybody's a Bumblebee fan nowadays, but I'm an Optimus Prime and Starscream guy. So, uh,
Optimus Prime's not in the movie as much as you think.
is it? Oh no, no, no.
Don't
And
do
Starscream died in the last one, didn't he?
it. Yeah.
Oh,
Don't torture yourself like that.
nothing but Bumblebee, bro.
Just
Look,
don't.
Bumblebee
Just
was
don't.
cool after the first movie, but after that, it was just too much.
The first movie is good. I like the first movie.
It is good.
After
Still,
the
I mean,
second
from a
one, it
logical
dropped
standpoint,
off.
it's not good, but it's still good.
After the second movie, it dropped off the planet.
Thor is definitely on my is at the top of my list, even over Black Panther, just because I'm not gonna act like I was the biggest Black Panther fan in the world, like a lot of these new age fans are. So I'm not like Black. I mean, Black Panther in the comics was important at one point with the Illuminati and shit. Which is a good chance we might see on screen to some version of it, minus Black Bolt, obviously, because of the TV show. But there's some chance we might see a variation of that on screen, because you will have him and Iron Man in the same vicinity.
They're missing Reed. They're missing Xavier.
Oh, you're right.
They can't do it.
Never mind. I
can't
take
do
that
it.
back. But I am looking forward to Thor more, just because I'm a bigger fan of Thor than Black Panther. I've always been a Thor fan. Black Panther, I've known about him. I've liked him, but I haven't necessarily been like just gigantic Black Panther fan. Like, his list of villains isn't really overly impressive to me.
Nope.
And more so him as a character is what impresses me, but his list of villains isn't necessarily that impressive to me. And I've always just liked Thor. So Thor is, to me, my number one. They gotta do him some justice with his last movie, because those first two were. I've wanted to march to Marvel Studios myself personally and take that up with them. Justice League is up there. I still have concerns, mainly with Flash. But I still think action-wise is going to be a great movie. Zack Snyder's role will be, obviously for bad circumstances. Him not, being involved with parts of it. And then Josh Whedon, I have a little bit more hope for the movie.
But I don't think that much has been changed, because the movie is about finished by the time Zack Snyder has stepped down.
Yeah, I think they were right over halfway, like 75% way finished with it. I mean, maybe some production, post-production changes or some camera angle changes, who knows. But Whedon's input is really big. A lot of people don't understand how much his input means, but when you look at Whedon's track history with Marvel and with the TV shows he's done, he is really good with cameras and angles. So that is going to be a huge help. Even if Snyder is still involved, you will see some type of improvement just because of Josh Whedon's, his presence. So those, I think that's really where the...
Those are the only ones we actually seen any kind of footage on, really. Because I know there have been like screenshots of Infinity War and been thrown that. I really didn't pay attention to it.
Yeah, I mean, Ebony Maw, is that one just popped up out there too, that he might be in the movie too. Which obviously Thanos hired him back in the day to take out Doctor Strange, and apparently there were some photos from set where you could see somebody standing over Doctor Strange, and he had like initials carved on him or something that said E-Maw, which everybody kind of just pinpoints to Ebony Maw, which is a big thing for that storyline. But there's not that many superhero movies now that I think about it.
Yeah, not the ones that
Not that many superhero movies. There's like 7 this year.
I'm talking about from this point on.
Yeah, there's only
ones that we've
2.
seen anything about. Like Thor, I want to see Ragnarok, because I'm hoping they can get it right in the third try. And it looks pretty good from what they showed. So hopefully they can get that right. Black Panther. A lot of the people that talk about him on Twitter don't know anything about him. They don't know that at one point he was married to Storm, which is common knowledge almost. But I think he's just really from Chadwick Boseman. He was great in Civil War.
I think it will be good.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it.
I want to see Thor more, just because I want to see them get that right. Black Panther, this is his first solo movie. his first solo movie.
The feeling on Thor for me is that it's gonna be kind of like this Spider-Man movie. It's gonna be a fun movie. It's gonna have some comedy in it. It's gonna be a typical good Marvel movie, but it's not gonna be great. I feel like it will be better than the other two, though. I'll say that.
I got a good feeling about this one.
I think there's no way they can fuck up really Thor. Like, well, aside from Thor being much weaker than he is in the comics, I just don't think they're gonna. It's like the equivalent of that is like the Hulk being Thor's mentor, showing him how to fight and shit. Like, come on, there's something like that's not gonna happen. I don't think they're gonna butcher it as bad as they did with the Spider-Man. Yeah. How bad they butchered it with Spider-Man.
I think Black Panther,
even though you gave it a 7.
Black Panther out of superhero movie history is probably going to be one of the 5 safest picks to be a good movie ever. And you look at the casting. That you got Chadwick Boseman, who a lot of people didn't know about before this, but he played in the James Brown movie, and he did a hell of a job as James Brown. That was the first time I had seen him. So when I heard he was cast, I was automatically sold. Angela Bassett. I mean, you don't even need to go any further. Angela Bassett.
Most people wanted her to play Storm back in the day in X-Men.
Yes. So when you just break Michael B. Jordan, the list goes on and on. And when you go down the list of the cast and the fact that you don't have to worry about them changing cultural things about it because it's a black character from Africa, so you already know the cast is going to be all black. You're not going to see a bunch of white people pop up, or vice versa. How it would be if they made like Spider-Man, if they turned Spider-Man into an Asian guy, not Amadeus Cho, but he was the Hulk now. But it's just one of those ones that it's so difficult to fuck up the Black Panther thing right now with the reaction that it's gotten and the actors they've hired. If they mess that movie up, that's going to be one of the biggest fails in movie history, not just comic book history, but movie history. This is set up for them to succeed.
Yeah.
It's a slam dunk. It's an alley-oop.
Yep.
They put the dude on screen for 15 minutes in one movie, and people are like ridiculously excited to see it. You can't mess this up.
You're right. But if y'all don't have anything else to say, go ahead and plug your stuff.
All right. You can find me on YouTube, The Bottom Line View, sports, wrestling, trying to put some movie reviews in there as well, and on Twitter at Mitch Milani.
You can find me on Twitter at I Hate Captain America for life. I probably will. I hate Captain America at this point. It's not even a healthy hatred. It's very unhealthy. Like I want to see him die in the first 2 minutes of Infinity War.
I just like Winter Soldier. I just like the last 2 movies.
No, the movies were great, but the character of Captain America, to me, I hate him. I hate him. The goody two shoes. Like I can't with him. Jesus.
I just can't. Okay.
It's just there's something about him that just really annoys me. Like even more so than the goody two shoes Superman. At least I seen Superman snap a dude's neck. But I'm just on Twitter at Virtuoso Sports. During the week, I'm on BlissSportsNetwork.com. That's pretty much where you can find me.
And you guys know where to find me. But if you like this video, hit that thumbs up button, subscribe. Thanks for watching.